Look, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You're Minnesota, right? Okay. So 21 years old, born in 2002. Okay. But when you were at the age that you were, TikTok was Musical.ly. It's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
When the event took place and you're kind of going through the process where these surgeries are going to happen and you're coming home, how are your parents talking to you? Are your parents sitting there saying, babe, you sure you want to do this? Babe, are you sure you want to do this? Babe, you can think about it. Why don't you wait till you're 18? You know, you don't have to hurry up. We can wait to do this. What was your parents' approach with the decision you could make?
So at the time, my parents were divorced, and it was not a pretty divorce, which was almost kind of some of the catalyst of this, because you look like when I was like 12, 13, 14, there was a lot going on. So of course I like retreated away from myself.
When did they go to how old were you when the divorce happened?
So I believe I would have been 12.
So when the divorce happens, that means divorce been happening for a few years. When did you kind of see like this is going to eventually happen? Let's just see how long they're going to take. You know what I'm asking?
I really didn't, because they tried their best, but it was actually right before they like officially got divorced. That's when I also got a smartphone, because of the fact that they're like, okay, well, you're going to be switching back and forth between houses now. You're going to like, might be helpful. And that's kind of the only reason I got one when I was like 12, almost 13. But so two very different perspectives from my parents. My mom did come to me with some concerns. And she was like, I'm scared you're going to regret this. She expressed this to the therapist I was seeing at the time, and that was shut down. And she had private sessions with this therapist, and they essentially talked her out of expressing those concerns like that to me. Meanwhile, you had the whole trans community kind of feeding it in your ear that if your parents don't immediately go along with all of this, if they don't affirm you, essentially, they're hateful. They're hateful people. And here's, I had no reason, before that to believe that they were. And I feel like even as like a 16-year-old, I tried my best to understand what they were going through. Now I will say it was from my lens of like my 16-year-old brain, so probably not the most, informed there. But my mom had concerns. If my dad had any concerns, he never brought them forward to me. My dad is very, very like, I don't know, analytical, if that's the right word, where he was very like, okay, well, here's the medical professionals are telling me this is the problem and that's the solution, so we're going with it. In that sense, there was also the fact that he liked having a special child that he could affirm for like the virtue points.
He did.
Which is something I don't talk a ton about, because I try to keep my family out of stuff. But my dad is a man who very much was very progressive in the sense of like a hardcore like boomer progressivism. If anyone knows what I'm talking about there.
Unpack that. What does that mean?
It is just essentially like, I am being told this is the nice and right thing to do, so I'm going to believe it wholeheartedly. Because I grew up being told that this is the good thing and this is what the good people do. And so I'm not going to question it. My dad watched CNN and MSNBC. He was just so mad all the time throughout my high school years about stuff. And then he did enjoy, he'll never admit to it because he's kind of a textbook case of a narcissist. And if he's watching this because he knows I'm on it, hi. Don't talk to me. But
oh wow.
But no, so he was a case of really feeding into that affirmation cycle because of the fact that like he, once again, whether he'll admit to it or not, he enjoyed having, the special kid that gives you political points when you affirm them, and you are very virtuous with how you present all this. Look at me, I'm such a good person. I have such a marginalized child, and I am affirming them all the way through, and I'm sticking by this because this is now my struggle too. And that actually got to a point where when I was about 17, but right before I stopped switching houses, I called my mom at one point, and I was curled up on the bathroom floor of my bathroom at his house, and I was on the phone with my mom, and I was absolutely sobbing. And I asked her, why doesn't he love me for anything else besides being trans? And that is where you see these parents. And it hits a special chord with me when you see these activist parents that have especially the young children that are affirming this, because when these kids grow up and they get to that place where I was curled up on that bathroom floor talking to my mom, when they get to a place like that and they realize that their parents have essentially put all the eggs in the basket of, you know, this is what makes you amazing, this is what makes you special, this is great, I'm affirming you, that's going to break those kids. It's going to break them, especially if this started at like 6, 7, 8, 9, any of those younger ages, because I was a teenager. But imagine going your whole life with your parent telling you this and then coming to the realization that, like, they didn't seem to care about you for anything else besides that.
Luka, let me ask you. Parents politically, are they both Democrats?
Yes.
Minnesota.
Well, so my parents are originally from Nebraska. I live in Minnesota now.
Got it.
Which is, you want to talk about California? Minnesota is just the California of the Midwest. But both my parents were, I believe, my dad's a Democrat. I think my mom is registered as an independent, but has voted Democrat.
Got it. So this is why, Erin, I know you don't necessarily agree with what I was saying on this side. I think there are certain people that choose their politics, and whatever their political party affiliation, the loyalty to their political party and philosophy is above any of it. Every parent is proud to brag about their kids. Not every parent. I would say most parents want to brag and say, that's my kid, because it's like a way you're bragging about yourself. It's your genetics. It's my blood. It's a different way you brag about your kids. But when you brag about it to show off to your party, to say, I'm more liberal than you are, look at me, look how loyal I am to my political party, and I get these additional points that you don't get. Being the fifth person that chose to sue the institution that helped, got you to transition, are you all finding each other? And are you communicating others that are in a situation like you, that went through what you went through? And if you were to put 50 stories on the board, are all 50 have the same 6 components, 5 components, 3 trends? Or are there different reasons why kids go through transitioning?
I guess add a mini asterisk to the parent thing it tends to be a certain personality type that this kind of ideology appeals to feeding into their ego. So it's not necessarily even politics. It is like if you have a narcissistic tendency, you're going to do anything to feed your ego, and unfortunately, this topic feeds their ego. I've met a lot of the other detransitioners. I've met most of the other ones that are filing lawsuits, and it's really is amazing because I know like the concept of diversity gets harped on a lot now because of how it's implemented. But detransitioners are truly one of the most like diverse groups of people I have ever been around. We're from different backgrounds, different races, different religions, different political beliefs, but all through all of our stories, there is a thread of these certain things that happen, and it's just woven in there, and that's kind of what is pulling us all together. There's a thread of events such as, family life problems, sexual trauma, internalized or external homophobia, all of these things, just general being uncomfortable in puberty, social media, and being like influenced by this stuff to feel accepted. But all throughout all of it, there's a young person in each of these stories that just wanted acceptance and just wanted to feel loved and wanted. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, that came from a very predatory place in our lives.
When you hear that, what do you think about it, Erin?
That is really truthful. So I run a parent group, and all I need is the parent to give me the age and the sex of the child, and I can guess the story. And the story, I'm usually spot on. So when a parent comes in and they have a female teenager, I can say, not in the cool crowd, into anime, watch too much porn, hides in the room with social media. Like there are patterns, and they're so obvious to us. If it's a boy, I've got a different pattern. These boys are highly intelligent, usually Asperger's on the spectrum somewhere. They're usually uncomfortable around girls, never had a girlfriend. So there's these really stunning patterns that we see day in and day out that the doctors seem to just ignore. So we see them. And Luka's right. It preys on the vulnerable kids. These are not the kids that are great at sports or in the popular group. These are the kids that are fringe and outliers and are looking for a tribe or are looking for love from both their friends and sometimes from their parents. And then they can opt into this stardom. I mean, when you are a quote unquote trans kid, you are celebrated. You become the it person, even though the kids still shy away from you. So you'll see a boy who will become prom queen or homecoming queen. He's not invited to the after party. But, all the kids are celebrating this boy in a dress, but it's all a false celebration.
It's interesting you say that because we're starting to see people waking up to this. Bill Maher woke up, and Bill said that he was alarmed, and he did a little monologue on it, that he said Angelinos, which is people from Los Angeles, he says, I'm starting to see Angelinos at cocktail parties speaking with pride about having a kid that's transitioning, and they're like, oh, what drama, as if they're just talking casually about some topic, and him being very alarmed by that. You just talked about patterns you can see in kids. What patterns do you see in parents?
Well, like Luka said, narcissistic parents who want to, there is a political component of it. Democrats, liberals, how liberal can you be? You're so liberal that you're accepting that your child is actually the opposite sex. That's it's a badge of honor, right? And these parents can show how woke they are and accepting they are on this. So yeah, there's a lot of narcissism. You see the parents who are parading their quote unquote trans kids around. That's especially the little kids. Now those parents are as narcissistic as they come.
They're sick though. These are sick people. They have issues. They're you can say narcissistic all you want, and we can call them all these other categories. Let's just simplify it. You are sick. You have issues. If you are using your kid to advertise, as a prop, hey, look who I am as a parent, you have mental issues. You're the one with mental issues, not your kids.
You're using your kids to fill your own gaps.
I don't have any forgiveness for them. For the parents who are parading the young kids around. I don't have any forgiveness. They are foisting this on these children, and they are using these children as props. You can listen to every parent who says that they have a trans young kid, and the stories are all the same. My son played with Barbies. Big deal. I played with trucks.
I would just add to that also is one of those things when you think about these adults who are very affirming, and you give it like more than 2 seconds of thought. Why would you want to be the adult that when a young person comes to you and they are distressed and they are saying every single thing is wrong with me, down to my very being, down to my very body? Why would you be the adult in the room to look that kid in the eyes and say, yes, you are right, everything is wrong with you, and we'll take you and get all this stuff done to you to fix you? Why would you be that adult? How is that loving or caring? To look that young person in the eyes who is so distressed that they want to escape their very physical body and tell them that, yes, you are correct, everything is wrong with you.
Well, you just said it. It's like that parent has got deep insecurities and issues of their own, and we're talking about the kids and their emotional things and all this, but it's the parents have got their own basket.
But you know what I think about that, Tom? Here's what I think about. Again, off camera, we spoke for 2 minutes, and I feel like we had a podcast off camera. To me, I said common sense. You have common sense. You know this shit's not, normal for you to do what you're doing with your kid. But here's where I go to as well. Let's be deceptive for a second, and let's play devil's advocate, and let's play the motives of some people who are dark. Let's just say those people exist, okay? How do you do it? It's not a new strategy. Sun Tzu talked about it many years ago, divide and conquer. Okay, so how do we do it? Divide parents. Great. Divorce rate in the U.S. is the highest in the world. Awesome. Let's divide parents. We're killing it. That's not the case in China. It's 3%. It's not the case in India. It's 4%. We're at freaking, whatever. What's the divorce rate in the U.S. if you pull it up? It's absolutely embarrassing. So let's divide parents. 1, bingo, we're winning. Number 2, let's divide sexes. We're doing that. Let's divide them. Let's pin men against women. Freaking awesome. Look at these guys. They hate each other. The feminist movement, greatest thing ever. Women coming out seeing the enemy of the state number 1 is men. This is who we're. Let's wage a class war. Let's make the poor hate the rich and the rich hate the poor. Let's do that. And then what happens? Protesting, destroying businesses. The people that create jobs, they're destroying small. They go, look at this. We're winning. This is so awesome. And then you got to also kind of, get values out. The fewer, like, I'm watching this interview with this guy. Rob, do you have this interview with this child molester who is being interviewed, and he's giving us clues on what he does? He says, I look at kids who are not close with their parents, who don't have a strong father figure. I'll send you the video here in a minute, so we don't have to play it. It's not a big deal. But one of the things he talks about, this is a guy that did 12 years, 2 or 3 years in jail, and he went in for being a child molester. And he's being interviewed. He agrees to do an interview on what his strategy is, okay? And he said he looked for clues. Strong father, he wouldn't even waste his time, okay? Believed in God, this guy right here. How many minutes is it? 2 minutes and 11 seconds? What channel is this with that we can play it or not? Can you see what this is? Is it just a regular thing? This is such a long time ago. Okay, go ahead and play it. See what this guy says. If you can put the audio, Rob.
I found my victims moving from town to town.
Convicted child
I scoped
predator.
them out on school grounds. I scoped them out in Little League Diamonds. I scoped them out in my own backyards, my neighborhoods, and things like that. I worked with people who had younger brothers. I socialized with those people so I could get in touch with their younger brothers and begin the grooming process. And eventually, it would take time, but I knew what I was doing. It was all calculated. I mean, this is nothing that happened overnight. I knew, and I planned it all. It started out where I would move from one town to another. When I got located in one town, I would, survey the children in the town to see. It was always a small town. It was never a big one. Because big towns have big police forces, and big police forces tend not to be very friendly. Small towns have small police forces. They probably never even heard of a child molester or a sex offender, or never even had to deal with one. I knew that. At least I played upon that. And I got involved in Little League Baseball because I knew from my high school days that I could umpire Little League Baseball. I could umpire baseball. I was good at it. I was good at refereeing basketball and other sports because I could not play worth a crap in high school, but I enjoyed the sport so much.
You can pause this, Rob. This is not the clip. This is a longer interview. One of the clips he talks about what he looked for, but this is the thing that I think about. If a father or a mother caves to this nonsense, you don't really have core values and principles that you stand by. Because a person that has real, true values and principles, you can't break them.